Okay. Hello. Can you hear me now? Everyone, can you hear me? Sorry, I had it on mute. I had it on mute. Welcome, Black Man. Again, want to say everyone coming to the room. People are coming in early tonight. Definitely appreciate that. As you got the text, hey, get me in the chat. Raptor, appreciate you. Ralph, everyone here, please go in the chat real quickly. And please, I ask you to let me know you're here. Put a 1 in the chat. Nathaniel, welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. Tonight's going to be a really amazing lesson, a fun night, because we're going to be talking about how money moves around the world. But first off, let me say this first. Our last session, I really was blessed. You guys got really real with us. Thank everybody for showing up. You got really real with us last time. We talked about, obviously, money things, but we also talked about, some of the challenges and struggles of being a Black man, right? And trying to navigate some of the nuances, but also navigating some of the programming that exists that we have to work through, right? Everyone should have sound. Can you hear me, everybody? Let me know you can hear me real quick. If you can participate in the chat real quickly, please, I ask you all to let me know so we know we can hit you up and make sure everything is good. Everything is good. Let me know if you can hear me. So we're gonna get started here, but we're gonna be talking about how money moves around the world. This is tonight. This is one of those things. I want you to like, please share if you can, subscribe. I'm gonna ask you to like, share, put it up there. My team on the back, if you put up there, please subscribe, like, and share if you can. Tonight's important because tonight, it is, as a Black man. Let me say this first. As a Black man, how you're moving and what you're doing, it is sometimes difficult, right? And some of the challenges, stereotypes, and everything else. Please subscribe, like, and share to know what moves to make. Right now, you got people out here. Let me just say this first, right? And look, I'm not one to judge on what it takes for you to provide for your families. Let me just say that first, right? I'm not going to sit here and judge a man. The Bible says something very interesting. The Bible says no one judges a poor boy for stealing a piece of bread, right? Until he is caught, right? And what it's saying is that there's a part of us that understands the humanity of that, people having to do what they have to do to feed themselves and to make a living for themselves, right? However, when you get caught, there obviously are consequences if you are doing things that aren't right and stealing and stuff like that, right? But tonight, I'm trying to provide some insight for you as Black men, how we can move around the world, right? Understanding what places we can go around the world, where there's the major ports, the financial centers, and such, and how we can essentially make our path, right? And again, this is going to be crucial. It's going to be short, simple, but concise, but talking about how money moves around the world and why, all right? So we're going to get into some stuff, like some lessonal stuff, but then also we're going to write some stuff and have a little bit more participation. So first off, if you're here real quickly, I'm just curious for your summer plans. If you could, in the chat, let me know. Does anybody have any plans to move or travel across the Atlantic? Please let me know real quickly. Just put in the chat real quick. If you could put, where you're going across the Atlantic, right? Again, I didn't say the Caribbean, right? All right. I didn't say Mexico. If you're going to go anywhere across the Atlantic, please put it in the chat real quickly. Let everyone, I want to know where everyone's going, where you're going, if you are moving or going to be traveling across the Atlantic. Again, Phil, welcome back. Thomas, Albert, Neil, Lawrence, Nathaniel, James, Terrence. Hey, welcome back. Michael, Anthony, welcome back. We're talking about how money moves around the world, right? Real quickly, if you're going across the Atlantic, let me know. I want to know if you're moving across the Atlantic because I want to point out something very quickly here, right? To anyone who's going across the Atlantic, okay? Just put in the chat. Dr. Marlon, welcome back. Kevin, welcome, welcome, welcome. I want to know if you're going across the Atlantic and where you are going. If you are going to be traveling this summer or this year across the Atlantic, please let me know because I want to talk about that because that's what we're talking about tonight. All right, so how money moves, right? Now, most people are not aware, okay, of how what I consider nation states, okay, right? So let me just give you a quick, for those that don't know and those that do know, okay, Dr. Marlon going to Germany, phenomenal. We're going to talk about Germany. Thank you so much. Germany is a very important place in this whole money thing. We'll get to that. But most people don't know, okay, that when you talk about this money thing, right? How what I call nation states. What is a nation state? A nation state effectively is someone put in Qatar, okay? A nation state is effectively some a incorporation, right, of a country, okay, that has basically incorporated themselves as their sovereignty, right, in order to collect taxes, but also be recognized by other nations. That's essentially what a nation state is. The idea of creating nations, right? Before that, we had kind of empires, right? There was things, but basically, a nation state is a corporation. Understand the United States of America is a corporation, right? Essentially, right? It's kind of a sovereign governmental corporation, but it's a corporation, right? United Kingdom is a corporation, right? These different places, they are corporations, right, that operate in the governmental space in order to be a nation sovereign state. That's what they are. That's what they do, right? Now, to do that, you have to collect taxes and or create trade as a surplus for your nation, meaning that just like a business, right? You need what? More revenues as a business. You need more revenues than you have expenses, okay? Right? If you have more revenues than expenses, right? Now you produce a profit. That profit allows you to what? Reinvest in the business. So the same thing with nation states. Nation states are trying to collect more taxes, more exports, more revenues, right? That is more than what it costs their citizens to operate, essentially, okay? And therefore, through the profit of the nation states, okay, now I can reinvest back into my country. If that made sense, what I just said made sense, put a one in the chat, right? Put a one in the chat. I don't know if you heard it explained that way before, right? But put a one in the chat. Thank you, Nunu, for the fire. Appreciate it, Nunu. But essentially, that's what all countries are trying to do. All countries are trying to do more revenue, more exports, more taxes, more than what it costs them to operate, right? And then take that difference and hopefully reinvest it back into the country, right? Just like a business. Or they take out debt, and they pay on that debt in order to reinvest back into the country. Okay. Now, all right. Everyone got that. Arthur, thank you. Lauren, thank you. Kevin, thank you. Everyone, thank you. Thank you. Here we go. Now, there are certain countries, there are certain places around the world, essentially, okay, that are what I call financial centers. Okay. My team, if you could put up financial centers around the world. We're going to go through this in a minute, right? What is a financial center? What this means is that these are places, okay? These are places where there is a lot of capital, a lot of money concentrated in a particular city or area, right? A lot of money is moving back and forth in order to, okay, for trade, okay, cap and trade, right? Currency, the movement of currency, okay, in order for the country. Understand this. When I talk about these cities, okay, when I talk about these cities, I'm talking about right now, right? The cities are created so that the countries thrive. Okay. I was talking to a friend the other day. This was so interesting, so funny. And they were talking about how there are so many things that we don't realize, right? That are so intentional about how a nation is structured. Guys, black men, there are places where you are born, you had no control over this, right? That because of where you were born, there are certain ideologies, there are certain structures put in place, okay, in order to have you think a certain way or operate a certain way, because it is the government's interest for you to do that. I'm going to speak to the United States real quickly, right? United States, we have basically 4 sections of the US. There's the West Coast. If you're from the West Coast, put a W in the chat. Put West in the chat from the West Coast, okay? If you're from the Midwest, you have the Midwest, right? Okay? If you're from the Midwest, put an MW in the chat. If you're from the East Coast, right? East Coast, I want you to put an ET in the chat. And if you're from the South of the US, right? Put South in the chat real quickly, okay? Right? So there's basically 4 sections by where the US, okay, by where the US has broken it up. If you notice, thank you, Thomas, Kevin, author. If you notice, these sections of the United States, they have certain focuses, okay? If you're in the West Coast is structured in California, Seattle, that whole area is built around creativity, right? It's built around Hollywood, Silicon Valley, all these places, like super creative, intellectual property, right? If you come over to the Midwest, what is the Midwest? The Midwest is industrial, right? Right? Manufacturing, right? Railroads, trucking, right? Is industrial, right? They it's not as much creative like thinking, it's more labor, right? Labor, moving things, right? The East Coast is what? Very service financial, right? Very much Wall Street, right? Very much they have tech as well, but more service financial. The East Coast, education. Some of the best education in the world, we all know this, right? Is on the East Coast of the country, okay? And then the South originally was more like manufacturing, industrial as well, okay, right? But the South has taken a lot on in the entertainment space. You take Walt Disney, you take, what's happening in Atlanta, right? So understand, countries intentionally create these hubs in order to, right? Remember this, what is this about? What is this about primarily? They have to produce revenue larger than their expenses to make a profit to reinvest back in the country, okay? I'm going to use that for the U.S. dynamic, all right? Now, let's talk about around the world, okay? There are cities and places when you are looking to do business, when you are looking to do things, okay, that are what I call the meccas, the financial centers, or the main areas of not only the nation, but sometimes the entire continent, okay, right? So they are the hub where all transactions happen. Now, when I talk about this, you're going to say, man, you know what? You're right, David. You're going to be like, yo, I might have never thought about it in that light. But yes, what I'm telling you is that I want to confirm a lot of thinking for you tonight about maybe patterns and things that you've seen that you are going to say, oh, got it. And these are places that where you can do business. But let me tell you how deep this is. This is how deep it is. I'm going to talk about this tonight, right? This is so deep that tech companies, when you talk about users, ready for this, right? Right? You talk about users. And so let's say you have a software company, or you even have your online social media. Let's say you have what I call a big following, right? They look at what nation states, they look at what cities your followers are in, because they're looking at what is their discretionary or capital or GDP per capita income in those areas. And then YouTube or whoever else, the tech company, they put a value on you based upon who's following you in what city and also nation state. Some of you guys may not know that happens. They have a whole algorithm and a whole department to determine. So what that means is that if you have 1 million followers in, and you are, I'm just speaking hypothetically here, right? Just using this for an example. You have 1 million followers from, trying to think, someone that's really struggled, Libya, okay? You have 1 million followers from Libya, right? Or the Libya area. They put a different value on those followers than having 1 million followers in, California, right? Because they understand the GDP per capita in the nation state. So let's get to it real quick. I'm gonna get on the board and I'm gonna do my thing real quick. So some of you guys may put this out, but I'm telling you these things so that you can start to think about in your business or whatever you want to do, where you would trade, where you would do business, but also where there's a lot of opportunity, okay? Opportunity for you to do business if you choose to do so. All right, so let's go. Let's do it. All right. So the first thing we're going to talk about and go through, right? The first thing we're going to do, we're going to talk about the financial centers, right? Now, I know most of you are like, okay, yeah, of course. Everybody put in the chat the financial center that we all know the most, right? Go ahead and put it in there. What city, right? What city? What city? What city? What city? What city? What city is it? We all know there's a big financial center that we all know is one of the biggest in the world, okay? Right? One of the biggest in the world. Let's go ahead and put it out there because I know you guys are like, okay, I got to put that out there, right? The NYC, right? New York. Let's go ahead and just put it out there, right? Let's do it in New York. All right? Right? Financial center. Why is New York a financial center? Right? New York is a financial center, gentlemen, because the Dutch, right, came to New York and some others, and they were like the first trading center, right, of the United States, right? That was New York, okay? Now, in Asia, overall, one of the major financial centers, right, if you're doing business, is going to be Hong Kong. Now, why is that? Hong Kong was one of the first areas in Asia ever, because they couldn't get China. Hong Kong was colonized, okay, a British colony, and so they made Hong Kong a major center. But here's the other part. Here's the other part, guys, that you should know, right, and understand about New York, Hong Kong, okay? Is there something else that creates the power, which is one of the reasons why, as a people, okay, this is one thing we have struggled with, and it's affected us in Africa, but also affected us in America, okay, is you don't just need a financial center, you also need a trading center, which are the port. New York and Hong Kong happen to have some of the biggest ports in the world. So they have financial and they have import, export, and trade. So you got New York, great port. You got Hong Kong. Okay? I'm going to make all this make sense in about 5 minutes here. Just stay here. Stay with me. Stay with me. I'm laying a foundation here, right? Also, let's keep going. So Hong Kong is not necessarily, as you would consider, is not necessarily what you consider China, right? So I was in China for about 3 years, back and forth, right? And what I learned was that China, right, doesn't really consider Hong Kong China. It's China, yes, but it's been more influenced by Western practices than actually Chinese practices, okay? So what China did is that they created their own financial center that what they consider more Chinese. It's a more Chinese financial center, and that financial center is called Shanghai. Now, you want to know, why do you know these cities? Why do you hear about these cities? Because these cities are important and major to the nation states and their revenue. Look, right in Chicago, and I'll go to Chicago in a minute. I'm from Chicago. In Chicago, we have a port. Now, remember, Chicago essentially is landlocked. But one of the reasons why Chicago became, just some real quick, one reason why Chicago became one of the major cities in the U.S., there was a big competition between Cleveland, St. Louis, Detroit, or who would be the big behemoth in the Midwest. Chicago went out, okay? The railroads, everything would be a center for railroads and trade. But if you look up, Chicago has a port. That port itself does about $1 billion in revenue, the port. The port produces about 200 million in taxes, just the port. This is just product coming in, stone, sand, salt, right? We're talking just agricultural, major products coming in and out, railroads, materials. Out of Chicago, $200 million business, just on taxes, 200 million plus, right? Just the one port that's in Chicago, right? So understand what having major ports do for your city. So when you look at some of our cities, you look at some of our places around the world, right? The challenge is that, right, we don't control or own the financial center, or we don't own or control the ports. This is why one thing that was happening in Africa, as we've heard about it, right? Many of the Chinese were coming in, they were giving away money, giving away loans, and they would say, hey, you don't have to pay me back. You know what? Just let us have the port, right? Let us have the port. You ain't got to pay back the loan. Just give me the port. Why? Why did they make that deal? Because getting the port is a cash cow, okay? Getting the port is huge and important. Please understand how this works, black man, okay? You have the financial centers and you have the ports. I'm going to keep going with some places that you should know, right? You should know of. Now, financial centers. Obviously, another one we know of is London, okay? Right? We all know London for the most part. Now, one you may not have known is a financial center and a port center as well, okay? And when I say this name, you're going to say, oh, that's why everybody's talking about that city, okay? Now, you're going to think people are just going there for tourism. It's not just tourism. It's because they are a financial center, a center of money, a center of influence, and on top of that, they have pretty amazing ports. And somebody put it up there, it's Dubai, right? Gentlemen, if you have not gone to Dubai, you have to go to Dubai, okay? I'm going to say this again, black man. If you have not gone to Dubai, it is good for your mental and for your health for you to go to Dubai. Why is that? In Dubai, you will see the most brown and black wealth you have ever seen in your entire life, okay? In Dubai, you will see the most brown and black wealth you have ever seen. Matter of fact, the world has ever seen in your entire life in one place. I'm talking the richest Africans, the richest Emirates, right? Those from the Mediterranean, those from East, those from India, they all center around Dubai, okay? Because Dubai is now what? A major port, but also is a major financial center. So when you are thinking of doing business, when you are thinking of doing trade, when you are thinking of expanding or international, this is just one of the things, international space, you have to think of these cities. I'm going to give a few more. Again, not as known. Give one that you might know of real quickly, right? It's Tokyo, okay? Right? That's in Japan, but it is a major city, major financial city, right? And also it has its ports, but there's one that you should know, and I think Dr. Marlon said he's going there. It's a place called Frankfurt. If you don't know what Frankfurt is, please look it up. It's a German city, okay? A very powerful German city, right? Where most of the manufacturing happens and where a ton of stuff is moved out, right? So please understand the power of Frankfurt. And also going to give you a couple more. One is Seoul, which is in Korea, right? Seoul, Korea, very powerful place that you should visit. Again, these are places that if I was telling you Like I'm gonna say for my children, my own children, these are places they are going to travel. Okay, you are going to travel as a young emerging Black professional. You are going to travel to Shanghai. You are going to travel to Dubai. You are going to travel to Tokyo, to Frankfurt, to Seoul, right? You are going to travel to Hong Kong. Why is this? Because when they travel there, their minds, they will understand parts of the world and how it operates, okay? Understand how things are organized, how things are set up, so that they can be a better citizen, but also that they will be able to think and understand more of how the world moves, and that when they're dealing with a business, when they're dealing with ideas, they've seen things and how things operate in other places beyond just America. Okay, this is one of the things, Bobby, I'm going to encourage you to do, right? Especially with you and yours, right? Whether your partner, your kids, and others, you have to invest in their mind, in their understanding. Okay, you have to invest in how they understand the world. Why is that? Why is that? Because we don't have the privilege of having had 200, 300 years of free labor. We were the labor, right? Which were slaves, okay? Right? Around the world, okay? And remember, I told you, every country does what? Revenues, expenses, okay? When you have free labor, what do you have? You have revenue and dang near no expense. So what happens to all that profit? You get to reinvest it back in your country. This is what I always say. I always joke. I say, look, don't be too dismayed. Understand, a lot of our democracies, especially in Africa, we are very young countries, organized nation states entering this global world, within the United Nations and others. Most of these countries are maybe 50 to 70 to 80 years old, right? Now, not literal age, but as far as being organized as a nation state, as you would put it on the standard of, how it all, works today, right? How it works today. All right, I want to leave you with this last point today. Today was a very pointed lesson. It's a very international lesson. And I wanted to talk about how the money moves. So here it is. Ready for this? Ready for this, right? Remember last week I told you guys that when you take the U.S. and its allies, they control about 44% of the world's GDP. You take the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and then South Africa, they control roughly about 40%. So the other 16%, roughly, is everybody else in the world, right? Okay? So one of the things that you have to understand is that because money is concentrated in these places, okay, you will start to notice that when you talk about controversy, this is one of the first times I'm going to get a little bit political, right? And this is not let me hear me. This is not, I don't have it go into politics. This is not a political show. It's not what we've been doing. I got to put this. This is not meant to be a political place, okay? But I want to go here real quick. When you have a financial center, when you have a port of power, okay, you have the influence to tell people to bag off, be quiet, shut up, and sit down. Why is that, right? I'll give you an example. Just recently over, I don't know if you know about in East Africa, there's some things happening with some of the LGBT community, right? And things that, I can debate a whole lot of things about that and talk about that. I think that all people, right, should have the right to live their life, right? I do believe that. Now, when you talk about what propaganda, when you talk about what people teach, all that kind of stuff, it's a whole different conversation. I think every household, mother and father, children, whoever, they all have to have a conversation within themselves. It's not my responsibility to tell you how to run your house, okay? It's just not my responsibility, right? However, okay, there's been a lot of controversy in certain countries about certain rights, about human rights, okay? But when you talk about human rights, right, have you ever noticed that you have one country who's getting hammered on their human rights record? Hammered, right? Human rights, what they're doing. All these things, right? All these things. And then you have other countries who are even worse in their human rights. Worse, they're a horrible record with human rights, but we stay more silent. You don't hear about them as much, right? Why is that? Because the where money moves, where money is concentrated, gentlemen, understand this, right? Understand this. They say, okay, you want to put us on blast? Okay, you wanna put us on the front page? I tell you what, I'm gonna cut off my port for a little while. I'm gonna cut off my trade for a little while. I'm gonna sit back on you for a little while, right? That's why when we've had certain presidents and certain people who talked about, for example, right, talked about different things and trade and tariffs and stuff like that, right? Some of that is to flex your power, right, and say, hey, if you can't sell to me, if you can't trade with me, it's going to affect your people and your economy, right? And how you producing your wealth. Okay, right? And this is why I am very big, gentlemen, on is at this point in our time, we must focus on saving ourselves because our economy, right? I'm going to speak about Black America, is roughly about $4 trillion, our economy. And so now it is time to focus on saying, what can we build? What can we create? But what can we also trade amongst each other? What can we teach each other, right? Because we now have at least enough capital. I think they did a study on it. If we were a nation, I want to say we would be African Americans in America would be, I think, like 20, which is a huge number, right? We would be like in the top 20 or 30. Somebody probably can look that up and tell me. We would be like one of the top 20 or 30 nations in the world, right? African Americans, if we were just a nation, okay? This is why California, right? They pull a lot of shots in America. Why? Because California themselves, I think if California, the state of California, was a nation among itself, it would be like the 6th largest nation in the world. Okay, it's some crazy number like that, right? Somebody put 16. Thank you for that, Arthur. And let us know. Is it the 16th? African Americans will be 16th largest nation in the world, right? Let me make sure we got that right. So I think it's 16. So please understand that when you understand your power, your financial power, and your ports, which is why there's always many times in our history been a onslaught and propaganda in order to slow down some of the financial process. I'm going to tell you right now, right? A lot of times the moral civil rights standard, right, was very powerful. But I like what Dr. King said. I'm going to end with this. I like what Dr. King said before he died. He started the Poor People's Campaign because Dr. King himself at 37, 38, he realized something that he did not realize before. He said, I'm freeing my people to sit at a lunch counter, right, with their brother, sister, white brother. However, although I'm freeing them to sit at the lunch counter, they can't afford the sandwich at the counter. So this is where he was going. But see, once he started to focus on the financial freedom, the financial liberation of the people, right? Moral, yes, that is always a conversation in itself, the moral freedoms of what exists in the nation. But when he started to focus on the financial freedoms, that's when he started to go, oh. Because once you get your financial centers and ports, once you can control trade, once you can influence, right, other nations because of your exports or your manufacturing or all these things, oil, right? Our Sam brothers over in the Middle East, what do they have? They have a ton of oil. They say, hey, you know what? Y'all keep the military. We're going to be rich off this oil, right? And they built Dubai. They built Abu Dhabi. They built Qatar, okay, right? So I want you to understand tonight, as you think to do business, please, number one and number two, you need yourself. You need to understand these places. And number two, you need your children and your children's children to understand how these places work and how they are organized is important for you and important for your important for your Black children, right? To understand how this works. Look, guys, I love you guys. Like this is going to be short, tight, to the point. This is the last part of our international banking, international finance series. I hope for everyone who has joined over the last about 2 or 3 weeks, I hope you've enjoyed this series. I ask you, please, if you can today, please please share, right? Make sure you subscribe. Tell other brothers about what we're doing. Let them know what we're doing, right? How we're educating brothers, and not just on, look, we're not just educating on hustle. I know you got people out there and you got folks talking about, hey, how to do this hustle, how to do that hustle. And look, I'm all for the hustle. I get it. Hey, I want you to know, hey, I get it, right? Sometimes you just need to make a couple $1,000s real quick to make sure you can pay tuition. Hey, I'm with you 100%, okay? But what I want to do is not just give you financial freedom, but give you economic freedom, right? Financial freedom is being able to buy things or purchase whatever you want. But economic freedom is when you are able to own the things that people buy and purchase, and it actually gives you leverage. You have now autonomy, some sovereignty, and some power. And so, look, money, power, respect, man. I love you, Black man. I look forward to coming back. We got some big trees. Remember, I told you guys, we're going to be focusing on moving forward. We're going to deal with the financial center. We're going to deal with artificial intelligence. We're going to be dealing with some real estate here in the future. We got a lot of things that are coming down the pipe. So I'm super excited about this, man. I tell you, look, thank you for tuning in every day. I do not take for granted that I get to hold you guys' attention for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, right? That you get a chance to learn from me, things that I've learned. And now we're coming down the pipe, bringing on some very powerful special guests, Black men who have made a difference, made some changes in the world and influenced nations. And so, look, I'm really excited about this, man. I cannot wait to see you in person. And also, a little precursor, we will announce at some point our Black male retreat, right? We're going to have a Black male retreat. I'm not going to say conference, man. It's going to be a retreat because we're going to do something for us, by us, right? For us and by us, where we can get together, do business, just for us and by us, man. And look, I don't know where this is going. I feel like this is going to be a forest bowers retreat, and we're going to put some things together with there too. So we got a lot of things coming down the pipe. Please be patient with us. We're going to be having another kind of challenge series going on here in the near future that hopefully a lot of people will be able to get involved in and move in. I want to tell you, right? Our goal is to reach a million Black men around the world. And I know to some degree that even the things I'm teaching, I won't see the fruit of it in my lifetime. But I do believe if it's just one guy who tunes into what we talk about, what we do, it sparks the right thing, it helps them with the right area, and all of a sudden they are able to take off, they are able to put the pieces together, they're able to move in a way that we never thought even possible, because, right, we were able to, as a community, come together, share ideas, and pass it on to the next generation and those coming up behind us. Man, Black man, I love you. I will see you at the top, because the bottom is just what.
David Anderson has become synonymous with global Black wealth. Whether he's shaping policies at the World Economic Forum, playing key roles within political circles on both sides, mastering the art of building unshakable wealth on an international scale, or breaking down barriers so that Black men around the world can win. David is the world's best kept financial secret weapon. From the ghettos of Southside Chicago to the Obama White House, to the homes of billionaire moguls, David's receipts stretch well beyond million-dollar bank accounts, African royal families, or celebrity inner circles.
But I believe that they did something that all of us can do.
David's true gift is in single-handedly positioning everyday brothers to become global millionaires. Why? Because it's about damn time we own what's ours and have a real seat at the table. Money, Power, respect.
Hey, they came back to us real quick. Thank you so much. Hey, look, just want to close this out with precursor real quick. Thanks for putting the thing on there. Hey, I want everyone to know, right? This real quick. When we do this For Us By Us retreat, I'm going to ask for surveys and get your thoughts on, for those that have been to conferences, have been retreats, what are the part as a Black man that you did not, what I call like you didn't know, right? Or you didn't see, and things that you wanted for yourself that you think would have helped you, right? So we'll do some surveys like that and some stuff like that as we move forward. But I just want you guys to know, man, look, we got a lot of things planned. We're working on some stuff and planning committees and everything else to try to bring good content, but also try to bring things a different voice than what anyone else has out there. So please let us know what you think about a retreat, things that you would do, things you would, how you engage. And so, man, I'm looking forward to it. Team, let's cue up our outro, right? What we do, calling all Black men, our spoken word poetry. But man, I really just appreciate everybody and everything that we've done. I had a chance to talk to a family member this weekend, and it was amazing because he just told me, man, how he was proud of me, and I made a lot of he watches what we do and everything else, and I'm really trying to we're doing this ourselves. Like I said, we're doing it ourselves. We're not going to go into like the sponsorship space. We're not going to do that. We're going to hold off as long as we can, and I think we can. And because we want to be pure to our content, we want to be pure to what we're doing and what we're saying, and we don't want anyone to own our message, right? Own our message. Although we could probably be 20 times larger by now, we want to own our message. I want to be able to say and speak to brothers in a way that other people can't speak. So with that, guys, have a good night. Take care of your families, man. And like I always say, I'll see you at the top because the bottom, it's just, man, it's way too crowded.
Calling all Black men. This is a call to action. This is a call to action. An action call. Calling all Black men. This is a call to action. This is a call to action. An action call for 1 million Black men. I am Kwesi to put you on a call path to win. This is not a Zoom call or a call on Facebook Live. Though we are virtual, we are live. Not a call on TikTok like MLB Black men, we are on the clock. Not a call from Snapchat. Move back my bat. We are on first base to Isaac Hayes Jr. fan base. We have an eye on third base. Grand Slam, not a call from Instagram, as we don't need validation with blue checks. We are the true checks. We do checks. We write checks. We are the right checks. We do family checks. We check in on our sons and our daughters. We are Black men who walks on waters because our children like to FaceTime. We are Black men who FaceTime. Let's FaceTime. This is still not a call from an Android or an iPhone. It is extraterrestrial to phone home. I know sometimes Black men, we have to travel around the world to be appreciated at home. But you are not alone. You are in the each one, teach one green zone, where the elusive weapon is the truth. We are the Black truth. We are Paul Pierce, the truth. We are the loot. We are 1 million Black men strong. We will get along as we landline. We walk across their blue and red line. Now this call is from a landline with rotary numbers and a coiled cord. We are 1 million Black men on one accord. This cord and phone transmits a dial tone, whether a local call or a call of long distance. Regardless of the distance, it connected us. Social media unconnected us. Our homes need us. They soul feed us. And not just food that give us niggas-itis. I write this, our homes bleed, sweat, tears for us. Black men, it is up to us. It is on us not to just procure the bag. Buddha bless one, share it with me. Get the info under your afro, bro. In establishing sovereignty to be a one united bank for economic just us. Black men, we must set up a family trust to an estate, because right now everything is at stake. Because we can't lead from behind, from your behind to your mind. They are public with their malevolence as they use artificial intelligence in this age of information. Elon Musk bought Twitter to gather more of our information. So if I have to be the Starlink, I will break the Starlink for 1 million black men. But I won't condone our culture with misuse of our information. So I grant you David Anderson for this financial literacy education. DA went from shy Southside streets to JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs on Wall Street. From Chicago State to Harvard. At 19, he fathered the economics in his family house. DA served in President Obama administration at the White House. He lived in China for 3.5 years, learning the Chinese economy, the renminbi. To the British pound, black men, let's get this pound. To the European euro, we NBA step into the euro. To the Uganda chilling, black men, let's be empowered by our billing and be willing to learn and understand. Money is just a tool to build unshakable wealth. 7 generations deep that DA will teach that we can compete in an economy beyond that's local. Black men, we must think global. So I present to you David Anderson to put you on this financial literacy path to win. Welcome to the movement. 1 million black men.